Okay, hi, my name is Elly Kluge, and I said this once to students who asked me, they said, how long have you been at H-B? And I said, well, let me think. I think it was 1979. Absolute silence in the room because, of course, these were kids recently who were born in the 1990s. So it confirmed to them, dinosaur, dinosaur, dinosaur. And I first went to H-B when I first moved to Arlington, which was 72. And Mary, then Flynn, lived across the street from me. And she came over and told me all about what was then Hoffman Boston. And I started out by subbing at Hoffman Boston because they had a Montessori program. So I would drop my kids at the Montessori program and then do my subbing. And then when the schools merged, I got a job in the library with Judy Mayhew, who has passed away, unfortunately. And then eventually I started teaching. So to make a long story short, I've been teaching since 1980. I'm still teaching. And shockingly, so I'm still teaching. I'm a history teacher. And I moved here to Arlington. First I lived in D.C., and of course it was the 60s, not surprisingly, and worked for Peace Corps, and then I got married and had kids and stayed home, and then stayed home for 10 years, actually, and then went back to work, what would it be, 1980, as I said. Yeah. So, still in Arlington. Love it. Love it, sitting on a good piece of real estate. And I said to my son, I hope when I go to the great beyond, the market's up. So you can get a very nice money, big nice pocket of change from me. So, unless you ask me questions, I don't know what you want to know. 80s.
Okay, well, can you just start again and say that and you're on.
Well, in the 80s, everybody had big hair and big glasses, but the school was much smaller. It wasn't called middle school, it was junior high, so it was 7 through 12, and I bet there were about 60 kids in each grade, and so it was really much smaller. What do I remember about it? Of course, my kids they went to H-B because nobody wanted to send their kids there in the 80s, so there was no waiting list. That was preposterous to think there'd be a waiting list. And then because I taught there, I had a little edge. Now all of that is gone. What was it like? I think it was more casual, less structured, no helicopter parents. Got a lot of those now. Kids see their high school diplomas as a resume, so I find that very depressing. I think it was, and I hope I'm not one of these looking back and saying, the good old days. I hope I'm not. I may be. But it seemed more relaxed. But everybody has their different interpretation of the 80s. In the 80s, actually, I was thinking of this as I was getting ready to come over. In the 80s, the school began to change because you had all those civil wars in Central America, in Nicaragua, and, we sided with the governments. And so you had a huge number of Central Americans coming into Arlington, going to Wakefield or W&L. And all of a sudden, you saw more parents finding our school more interesting, even though we were hippie high. And I think that's when you begin to see a little bit of the dynamics changing. Yeah. And we always have to give credit to Ray Anderson because he, I think, is really responsible for making the school what it was and still is to a degree. But, I'm one of the old fogies there, and younger teachers don't have any idea about the past because they're, 30? So, thank you.